that is part of who we are. We're constantly looking at new things, constantly trying new ideas, new technologies, new approaches, looking at new markets. But when somebody has created their own enterprise, very often they are now caught up in not only continuing to create the sales, but then having to manage the process with people that they've hired.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelak. Thank you for listening to the show. I would love if you could give us your opinion on how you felt about the show, your experience that you have in regards to what we've been talking about. I am having an absolute blast, but your input is like dynamite on that explosion. So give us your input. We'd love to hear from you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Give us everything you got. We love it. Thanks. I hope you're having an awesome day. Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelak, and I'm super glad to have you here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Jim. Jim, thank you so much for being here with us today.
And thank you for the invitation. It's great to be with you.
Awesome. So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Absolutely. I'm Jim Shulman, hailing from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, where I am waiting for the Phillies to take it all the way. I exclusively coach very successful entrepreneurs, people who have established businesses with employees and have more great ideas than they have ability to monetize it. So that's what I do. I help people monetize great ideas.
Nice. I love it. So how did you get into business coaching as your thing?
Ooh, how long we got? The gist of which is that I have been selling things in sales and marketing now for over 4 decades. And I've sold everything from auto restoration equipment to polyester pants. I sold China to college women over the phone. And I like to think I am personally responsible for the do not call list. Had my own shop since 1996. I was selling marketing services in those days, making a lot of money, but hating it. And the reason I hated it was that people were buying the services and they were wallpapering over underlying problems, such as a bad sales department will blame their problems on marketing. So as I put it, I created incredibly good marketing so they could sell poorly, but with incredibly good marketing.
Exactly. As long as you're confident in selling it.
And I once saw on Christmas week of 1999, somebody pushing a dumpster down a hallway, yelling everybody at the office to take all their marketing materials and throw them out because their headquarters had changed 6 semicolons and flipped into iStock pictures so they could justify their jobs. We know what corporate life is like. And I saw all of the stuff being flung into the dumpster, shrink wrapped, untouched. And I said, I am shutting down this business. I only want to work with people who have to earn their keep creating business when most of the world thinks it's these pretty pictures and the cliches on the glossy paper.
Oh my God, I can't tell. It's almost the bane of my existence when it's like, oh, which picture do we want to use? Who's going to buy what based on this picture? And it's like, no, let's back up the bus. What product are you selling? Why are you selling it? Who are you selling it to? Yeah, ethics in marketing. That's a fun conversation in the best of times. So.
It's like in financial services. Okay, we're going to haul out the picture of the golden eggs in the nest, the 2 silver-haired people in the convertible on the beach, the ethnically mixed group of people around the kitchen table offering serious and worthwhile advice. I could practically give you the numbers of those pictures.
Right. So you transition into working with entrepreneurs. 1, crazy. Congratulations. And 2, the ones with all of the ideas, the ones that have more ideas flying at them than they can control. What made you decide that was kind of your niche?
My tribe.
Yeah.
That's what I love. It was something that I recognized that essentially, Michelle, there are 2 types of people in the world. There are folks like us where we live on what we produce. They used to say, eat what you kill. It's the same principle. And then most of the world has a deposit that goes into their account every 2 weeks. Whether or not they're expelling air, it's going into their account every 2 weeks. One group never really is going to understand the other. And my heart goes with the folks who have to create their own way. So that is part of who we are. We're constantly looking at new things, constantly trying new ideas, new technologies, new approaches, looking at new markets. But when somebody has created their own enterprise, very often they are now caught up in not only continuing to create the sales, but then having to manage the process with people that they've hired. And so the great ideas wind up on a shelf, a virtual shelf in the background, and they keep piling up and piling up and piling up. And the owner knows, I'd like to do something with those things. I don't know how the heck to do it. And that's where I come in. What I will do is I'll sit down with the owner and figure out, how do we make this as functional as possible? Not changing you, because an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. No workbook, because no entrepreneur I've ever worked with ever filled out the bloody workbook. Won't happen.
Well, we have a hard enough time with coloring books, let alone workbook.
Oh, coloring books. Are you kidding? You know, we're riding high if we can get to the sharpener in the back of the box. And what I found was that if you go through all of the options and you narrow it down to one thing, and just one thing, and you put the focus on that, it's very likely it'll be accomplished. And in particular, most entrepreneurs I've worked with are some of the most generous people imaginable. They really want the people they've hired to thrive, to give them opportunities. And they'll also be the first to admit that they were not born on this earth to be managers.
Right.
And
that is a very distinct group of entrepreneurs, because oftentimes when I'm working with, I'm training them, I'm massaging them, we're working towards getting to that management stage. But some of them, they just don't want to be in management. It's just like, kill me now. I don't want to be in management. But at the same time, they have these good ideas that need to be monetized, as you put it. How do they do that with a team? Because obviously no man is an island. You're not going to be able to get it out without having some group of support. How do you orchestrate that?
Well, very often I have found that they have intuitively hired some great people, but had no idea how to manage or really how to lead. And those folks are in the background trying their best. But if they were given a little bit of freedom and a little bit of direction, they could take things and absolutely run with them in an amazing way. An analogy, since I love analogies, when I was a little boy, we had some rhododendrons behind the kitchen window, and the fellow who was doing the gardening asked my mother, I see a little tree in the back of that, and it's being, choked of light and nutrients because it's surrounded by the rhododendrons. Could I transplant it to the middle of the backyard? And she said, sure. It was a couple of bucks. It was transplanted. Within 5 years, that tree was taller than the house.
Oh.
This is essentially the same thing. Can you give somebody the autonomy and the authority to do what they want to do best, which is bring great ideas to fruition? And very often the resource is right under the entrepreneur's nose.
Nice. I love it. So is there any way, if somebody had that kind of resource without going through the effort of becoming a gardener and landscaper, to figure out what attributes make this support person that valuable?
Well, a couple of things. They're competent. They trust them. They find that their communication issues very often are trying to read one another, because the employee is trying to figure out, what is the entrepreneur thinking? What do they really want? What's being missed because they're often, on a different tangent and so forth. And the entrepreneur takes a look and says, boy, this person is fantastic, but why aren't they more like me? Because that's how we view the world. And it takes an outsider to come in and say, this is what's happening. This is what I see. if we give this person the opportunity to do this, and in particular, not micromanage that person. Because many entrepreneurs are micromanagers for the simple reason that they built their enterprise so they could control something in their life. Very often they had backgrounds where things weren't in control and there were disasters as a result. So they're great at building control as an expression of safety. And they got to be very successful doing it. Problem is, you reach a point when you're going to have to give up some parts of control. And for a new project, that might be somebody else taking the reins.
Well, and for a lot of those people, it's going to be, one, hard to admit that in the first place, because just admitting that that's their underlying motivator, somehow, some way in their mind, they think that if they admit to that, that their superpower is going to go away. What do you say to them?
What I say to them is, what is the worst possible thing that could happen?
Hellfire and brimstone, I die. My business goes with
me. You're not going to die. This isn't going to happen. The worst possible thing might be you lose money on something like this, or it gets, at a roadblock, or it gets delayed, or whatever it is. But is this project going to have an effect or hurt your core business? Almost never is the case. Many years ago, Michelle, I worked in a company, a little startup, and there was an old British guy who was hired to work in the warehouse. And they had just installed a computer system. This was very primitive, like typing in stock numbers and it would tell you if it was in stock or not, things like that.
Yeah.
So he was terrified of touching this brand new computer because he thought he would ruin it. Oh. And the owner came up to him and said, "Why aren't you entering it?" And he says, "I don't want to touch the typewriter. It might break." And the owner said, "Look, Len, look at this." And he took his fist and went bam on the keyboard. Bam, bam, bam. And letters flew on the screen. And he said, "You see," he said, "it's not broken. Go ahead."
Nice.
And that was the end of the problem.
Nice. I love that story. And then it reminds me, when I was little, I went to my brothers and sisters had a high school concert or whatever it was. I was about 7 and they were about 17. and they put me in front of the drum set and they said, "Go ahead, bang on it, go have fun." And they just wanted to get rid of me. And I was like, "I'm not doing anything." And they're like, "Well, what's wrong?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to break it." They're like, "Take a drum set, you're 7. I'm like, I broke a lot of things in my life. And then they go and go, and then I went and like, "Hey, this is awesome. I can do whatever I want." I think that exact thing stops a lot of people from doing a lot of things because they're so used to breaking things. The ones that are loud, the ones that are powerful, the ones, they're just, we break stuff. And it's like, no, at some point you get shut down. How do you in business kind of teach people that, I get it, you think this is going to break, I get it, you think you're going to die, I get it, you think it's going to be the end of the world, but let's go bang on some keyboards and show you that it's not gonna.
It comes back to, what is the worst thing that can possibly happen? What is also the worst thing that could happen if you give up control over this tiny area and let this other person get it done?
Right. Well, and I think it was, I want to say it was Elon Musk that famously said, if your product's ready to take to market, that you waited too long. I love that. I wish I knew that a long time.
I will disagree if you manufacture pharmaceuticals.
Fair enough.
Or for that matter, one of his cars.
I'm pretty sure a lot of them went out before they were ready.
Yes, that's what I meant. That's much like pharmaceuticals.
He's not hurting. I'm just saying, he's not hurting because of that.
Not hurting, but let's put it this way. There's a question of, am I going to use the public as my beta test, and there might be health and safety issues related to it.
Fair enough. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, though, are waiting for it to be perfect. And I'm not going to do anything till it's perfect. And in my experience, you can't wait until it's perfect.
No. It's like a relationship. If I had to wait for my marriage to be perfect, I'd be single until I die.
Yeah, it's been known to happen. So
Mhm.
talk to me about the process that you take people through. Do they need to know kind of that they're a mess when they come to you? Do they have to have an idea of, hey, I've got these 6 things on the shelf and how do I bring them to fruition? How do you prefer that relationship rolls out?
I'd like them to start talking about what their dreams are relative to what they'd like to try. What's exciting? What is, where did they get this idea? What are they doing right now with their business? How is the business structured? How is their feelings about how it's structured? What's changing? What's stuck? So, in getting a really complete picture of that, then you can see which ideas fit into their business best.
Nice. So
The
we mentioned,
whole,
yep.
I was going to say, the whole idea of selecting something to monetize is it something that the organization can handle, they can bring to market profitably, and it's going to have the least amount of resistance in order to do that? Of all the ideas that are in, I call it the peach basket, which ones are going to be the ones that are most practical to launch?
And why do you think people can't see that for themselves?
We are blind to ourselves. The problem is how do I have an aerial view when my feet are on the ground? It takes someone else, another device to get that aerial view.
Right. So in being able to talk to you and expressing it, what kind of things are you looking for in them when they're telling you about these things?
Well, first of all, I'm looking for excitement. I'm looking for drive. I'm looking for ambition. Okay. Ambitious people are the ones who will make sure these things happen. I am also looking for levels of frustration that they have had up to this point. And in some cases, it might come to a conclusion that, what you have in your organization or the level of discomfort, or I was going to say dysfunction that you have, works for you. And maybe it wouldn't make sense to go in and look at how this is working. Some people are very happy. I can't fight happiness.
Love it. So give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of the clients that you've been working with.
Ooh, let me see. There are quite a few. One of which was a client that I had worked with that wanted to bring in a complementary business offering that made perfect sense. So what we did was look for strategic acquisitions where there was another organization that could be brought in. The organization had strengths that they could capitalize on. In this case, it was bringing in a new cadre of customers that could be upsold on other services. And the real question in determining which company to buy was which one shared the same sense of ethics and values, which one had complementary customers so that it would be a seamless transition when people dealt with the new company. What were the logistics going to be like of making this transition? Meaning, did they need outside resources to make this happen? And obviously, the timetable of how this was going to work. And it took about 2 years of shopping until they found the right place.
Nice. Well, and so when somebody is typically going through looking at acquisition to be able to build that, what do you see as some of the biggest problems? One, they don't go through that process. Two, I'm thinking they're impatient about it. Is there anything else that hinders them?
Oh yeah. Number one is it what they think they need, or is it what they really need? Okay. Number two, are they able to look at it from the other company's perspective? Meaning, what does that company want to do? Is it going to be a fire sale because somebody died and they have to sell the company? Is it going to be a transition of an owner? Is it going to be something because of a market disruption? So you also have to look at where the other organization is coming from with this coming on the market. The other parts of that, it never goes as smoothly as it's promised. It's like so many other things in life. It's going to take longer. It's going to be more expensive. There are going to be more interesting discoveries, and I would put interesting in quotation marks.
Not necessarily the kind of interesting you're interested in.
But when you think about it, though, the acquisition in and of itself becomes its own job, if not its own mini business for a while.
Right.
We now have this mini business within our company, which is acquiring company X.
Mm-hmm. And that is a ton of work unto itself. Absolutely. And appreciating those and being able to talk to somebody like you before they get in there. So before the acquisitions happen, if somebody's thinking about acquiring somebody and they're going, I don't know if we're really well positioned for this. Obviously, that's a problem. Having a ton of ideas and not knowing which one's the best one to pursue. What are some of the other struggles that somebody might be having as they're listening to this and going, oh my God, Jim, I think we need you so badly?
If they take a look at their current staff and their first reaction is, how am I going to get from X to Y with the people who are here? And here's the issue. Most entrepreneurs I've worked with have acquired a staff. They haven't hired a staff. An acquired staff might be if you or I were sitting at a bar and having a cocktail, and you turned to me and you said, Jim, it's a shame my company went out of business last week and everybody is out on the street now. And I looked at you and I said, Michelle, you seem like a nice person. I need someone to run my office. You want to come in Monday? That's an acquired staff. And it's far more prevalent than you would think. And the reason is entrepreneurs do not hatch from the nest as HR directors. Eventually, they hire HR directors to protect them from some of their instincts, but that's another story.
I love that. I love it. I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start that journey with you?
Well, the best way is to get in touch with me. And my website is www.elsinorebA.com. That's ELSINOREBA.com. Or they can email me directly at jims, JIMS, @elsinorebA.com.
Nice. We will, of course, have all of Jim's links in the show notes. So go ahead and scroll down there. Click on the links, open them up in a new browser, of course, because we're not done yet. So, Jim, I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you were a special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Well, I realized that when I realized that I didn't want to work in any company that was a traditional company. I had worked in an organization for years, but it was a startup, and more or less the owner let me do what I wanted to do, so long as A, I made the money, and B, I didn't wind up in prison. And I managed to do those two things really, really well for quite a while. The world changed, and it's like, now it's time for me to go. And that was nearly 20 years ago.
Nice. I love it. You've been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Yes, you deserve to have your dreams realized. If you're a business owner, you deserve to have your great ideas put into action and monetized. If you're frustrated, reach out. You could probably fix it.
I love it. Jim, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I know how valuable it is.
And thank you for the invitation. It was great being with you.
Nice. Peeps, thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show, share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.